Hi, it's Maria from Women into Wellness. In this video today, I'm going to be talking again about diastasis recti, which contributes towards the mummy tummy, and how you can check for your diastasis recti. Welcome to my channel, Women into Wellness. This is where I provide you with tips, tools and strategies pertaining to movement, nutrition, mindfulness and lifestyle to help you feel fantastic and increase and maximize your potential for wellness and well-being. So as I said, in today's video, I'm going to be talking about diastasis recti. This is part of a series of videos covering diastasis recti and the mummy tummy. So have a look. I will put some links below about all of the other videos that you can watch that are going to really help you get clued up on how to solve this issue that you may have. Now, if you haven't already subscribed, then go ahead to get any notifications for future videos. If you like this video, please go ahead and click the like button, but most importantly, share it. So share the link with other women that you know who may benefit from the information shared here. So let's get started on talking about diastasis recti and how to check for it accurately, and then what you also need to be thinking about in order to know whether and when you have healed your diastasis recti. There are 4 things that you're going to be checking for when you do your self-diagnosis of diastasis recti and your regular checks. Now, I'm going to cover all of these in the visual part of this video, but I want to go over them now so you've got them fully locked in. The first of these is you're going to be checking the width of the linea alba. Now, the linea alba is that band of connective tissue, the white bit that runs down the middle of the 2 sides of your six-pack. So by checking the width, what we're going to be doing is measuring it in terms of how wide it is relative to our finger span. Okay, so we're going to be measuring, for example, whether it's 1 finger wide, 2, 3 or 4, and it could be even larger than this. And we're going to be doing this by depressing these fingers in horizontally to the midline. So you're going to check the width of that and take note whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 fingers or more fingers. The second one is that we're going to be checking the depth that we are able to depress our fingers into that linea alba, the connective tissue in the midline. So again, this one is fingers. Now, you probably wouldn't need the whole 4 fingers, maybe just the 2 fingers, but we're going to be pressing into the midline to check how deep the fingers go. For example, they might just dip in 0.5 centimetre, 1 centimetre, 2 centimetres or more. And that's a marker that we want to be aware of, okay? It's important. We are also going to be checking, now this is a very important one because it's often overlooked, but the tensile strength in terms of how firm the linea alba is. So when you are pressing those fingers in, does it feel completely squidgy and you feel like your fingers could just go on forever and the whole abdominal wall is very soft, you know, it's very gooey, there's not much pushback? Or does it feel like it has tension, it is firm, it is solid and it is stronger? So very important. So whether there's a level of firmness or squidginess, and then over time, hopefully the squidginess starts to turn more towards firmness, because I will talk about this more in a moment. This is one of the most important indicators of whether you have healed your diastasis recti is in fact how firm that abdominal wall is, not even so much how wide the gap is, because when you have firmness, you have strength, you have structural integrity, you have the ability to manage pressure and the ability to support your core and your movements and physiological functions throughout daily life. Okay, so that's the third one. Fourth one is we are going to be checking whether the abdominal wall blows out or pooches out whilst we are doing this movement that allows us to start the diastasis recti check. So you'll see what the movement is. It's like a mini version of a crunch, and I will talk you through that in the visual. So pooching out is, by that I mean basically whether your belly starts to bulge, it starts to descend, it starts to look bigger. And this means that basically the pressure that you're exerting on it throughout the check, and therefore throughout any other activities that exert pressure on your abdomen, are too much for your abdominal wall to bear, and it's not able to sort of contract and push back against it in order to offset that pressure, and it's all just blowing out through the front wall. We know what we're looking for now. Let's get into the visual. So remember, there are 4 things that we're going to be feeling or looking for in our diastasis recti check. We're going to use our fingers to measure the width of the gap, the depth of the gap, how firm the gap feels, and then whether there is any doming, pooching or bulging of the abdomen when we put those abdominal muscles under exertion. We're going to be measuring this in several different places. So if we start with the belly button, your navel is the midpoint, then what you want to be doing is doing a measurement at least 1 above that, so 1 to 2 inches above it, and then at least 1 to 2 inches below it. So that would give you 3 different measurements, 1 above, 1 at the belly button, and then 1 down below it. Now, if you find that you're having quite a wide gap or there's quite soft tissue there and you can't really palpate, then it might mean that you need to explore a bit further. Or if you seemed like you have quite an extensive diastasis recti, then you would certainly want to explore further and see how far it goes and how far the width and the depth of that goes. So you might add then 2 instead at the top of the navel. Instead of 1, you do 2 and then 2 also below. Now I am wearing clothes that allow me to access my navel, so I can roll my top up and I can roll my bottoms down, and that's going to give you the best sensation to be able to feel and see what you're looking for. And I am ready to do this on a hard surface. So let's get ready for the checks. Let's get into our position to check. So we're going to turn around on our mat. We're going to place our ankles, our knees, our hips hip width apart and parallel to each other in alignment. From here you're just going to gently lean back down onto your elbows, not putting too much strain on your abdominal muscles, and find yourself in a comfortable reclining position with those knees now at approximately 90 degrees. Now it's from this position that you're going to do all of your measurements in order to establish whether you have a diastasis recti. So now what we're going to be doing is doing our palpations down the midline. So we're going to roll up the top, and you can see I'm rolling it up quite high here. If I draw in my abdominals a little bit there, you can see that I am using the bottom of my rib cage as an indicator as to where the solar plexus is, the dip in between the rib cage. So the solar plexus, that could be one of my high points that I check. I'm then going to go down towards the navel, so that's the belly button, making sure that I also check here, and then I can go further down below that and keep on going. So we're going to take the fingers, and remember it can be 1, 2, 3, 4 widths wide, or it might even be wider. What you're going to do then here is, before you start checking, is you're going to do a mini crunch. So by placing those feet firmly in the floor, you're going to inhale in your own time, and then when you're ready on the exhale, you're going to curl upwards, lifting the chin sort of towards the chest, but having a little gap there, a bit of a tennis ball size gap between it, and look sort of diagonally in front of you. So you're doing a mini crunch. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you. I take a breath in. I'm going to just crunch up, and I am going to hold it there. So now my abs are actually under exertion. Now the idea is you hold this position here while you start to palpate. So as I said, I'm going to use the belly button as my first marker. So I'm going to dip my fingers in horizontally. So they're going from side to side here, not vertically. So side to side, the fingers dip into that midline, and I'm going to wiggle them left and right until I can feel the 2 borders or sides of the rectus abdominis muscles. That's the 6-pack, which in the diagram are usually coloured as the red bit. So I'm palpating here into the Lea alba, wiggling side to side. Now when I feel, hopefully I can feel some tension. When I feel that, I'm going to then establish whether I can fit just 1 finger into the gap, 2 fingers, 3 fingers or 4 fingers. So if I just roll my hand back, you'll see that this is the orientation my hand takes. I am pointing it directly downwards and then having a little wiggle. Now you don't want to be in this position for too long because it's probably going to start to be uncomfortable. So relax off. If you could find it or you couldn't find it, you're going to relax off, take a little breath, just gently turn your head from side to side, ease out the neck, and then we are going to go in again and palpate slightly higher and slightly lower, doing exactly the same thing. Now, what I will say here is if you have quite a lot of abdominal fat around the belly, if you're quite big around the midriff, you may find it slightly harder to palpate that linea alba and the borders of the six-pack, the muscles there up the side. So what you want to do is perhaps try and raise yourself a little bit higher with the recrunch. So we've done the middle one. I'm now going to go slightly higher. So that's 1 to 2 inches higher than where I was before. And I am going to do exactly the same thing. So as I said, the fingers go side to side. So my index finger is pointing towards one rib cage and my pinky finger or little finger is pointing towards the other rib cage, okay? So I'm going to go about here, take in my inhale, sit up, press it until I can just about find it, wiggle it gently from side to side and see if I can find it there. Okay, so I can get a measurement on mine. I have worked on my diastasis recti, so now my gap is very small and I can only really fit 1 finger's width within there. So it wouldn't be classed as a diastasis recti anymore, it's healed. So relax off and lay down. We're going to do one more below the belly button. Now, if you find that you have, for example, 1 or 2 finger widths all the way down, then we generally wouldn't be diagnosing this potentially as a problematic diastasis recti. It's once it becomes 2 fingers or above with some of the other markers that we're going to look at next. So the next thing that we're going to do is the one below. So again, I'm going to go 1 to 2 inches below the belly button. Same thing, dipping the fingers in there, exhale, lift up, and wiggle side to side and see what I can feel. And yep, I can feel mine there. It's less easy for me to find it there because at this point usually that's where the connective tissue is more tightly knit. It's around the belly button. If anything, you often do find a slightly wider gap, but it can be different for everyone. You can have a wider gap above the belly button, a wider gap below the belly button, or a wider gap directly round the belly button. So I've done my 3 measurements. Like I said, you could add in a couple more if you want to. 3 would generally be enough. Now, we were also going to be measuring the depth. Now for the depth, again, you're just using the fingertips, but this time what you're going to do is you're going to place them vertically. So this time it's the index finger is pointing towards my chin and my little finger is pointing down towards my groin. So I'm going to then palpate down that line, going from the solar plexus down to where I took my below button measurement. I'm just going to be gently prodding in and feeling how deep the fingers seem to go in, okay? And if you're in this crunch position and you can actually look at the same time, that's going to help because it gives you a visual as well. So again, on the exhale, we're going to do our same mini crunch. Okay, and I'm going to switch hands for you here just in case it's a bit easier for you to see doing this one. So I'm pushing my fingers down and they're not going in that far. And at the same time with where I'm pushing them here, I can also feel there's quite a lot of pushback. So I've got some tension there. That's good because that is also our 3rd marker we're looking for. So I'm going to relax off. Take a deep breath again, wriggle out the neck if you need to. Inhale, exhale. Go up again, move the fingers down. I'm getting closer towards my navel here. I can feel again, there's not much depth there. It feels the same. If I can have a peek and look. Now as I get to my belly button, that's where I feel the fingers drop in. That's where they can actually go deeper into the abdomen. So that is where I know that I have my weakest point of my connective tissue. Now it's important to note here, we're still going to go below the belly button, but I want to say this here as well, is that although this may be the widest point or the deepest point, whether it's at the belly button above or below, what is most important as well is the firmness and therefore the tensile strength of that abdomen. So if you've got a wide gap and a deep gap but it's very firm, then generally your rectus abdominis and your linea alba and connective tissue are functioning well enough, okay? So we want firmness, but we're going to check that with the last marker, which is the blowing out. So let's finish this one. Exhale. lifting up. I've done the belly button, so I'm just going below it. It's still a little bit squidgy below the belly button. Okay, for me, a little bit squidgy down there, and I can go a little bit further, but I am still feeling some pushback and some firmness. That feels good for me. If it feels completely squidgy and soft and you can't feel any pushback at all, and you feel like your fingers are going in sort of, you know, 0.5 centimetre, 1 centimetre, 2 centimetres with that squidginess, then it does mean that you need to do some work on that midriff of yours to get it back and fully functioning. Okay, really important. Now, I'm going to show you the last measurement that we're going to do for this one, which is the doming, the pooching or the bulging out of the tummy. So for this one, again, we are going to sit up, but what I'm going to ask you to do is a couple of exercises as an add-on, okay? So for this, you can place your hands just gently on the floor or raise them up at the sides so that they're not being used with the exertion. You could fan them out here at the sides, but that's going to add extra weight, and with a compromised core, we don't really want to do that. So I'm just going to hold my hands at the side. I'm going to move this one out of the way so that you can see what I'm doing. And from here, I'm going to exhale, and what I'm looking for is a bulging out of the abdomen here. So I'm actually going to try and have eyes on my tummy as I do these movements. So for the first one, it's exactly what you have been doing, and you may have already noticed it if you have this problem. So sitting up, exhaling out, is does the belly dome out when you are doing the sit-up? Now again, if you have a very fat or squidgy tummy, you will naturally see some of that move, but what we're looking for is a big doming through the midriff. Okay, for me here, I do not see a doming, but I'm going to add on the exertion level and see if it makes a difference. So next we're going to add on a knee lift. So from here, I want you to do your crunch, and then you're simply going to do a single knee lift, or what we would call a march, which is where we are going to bring the knee up so that the shin is parallel to the floor, and then take that foot back down. Okay, so this is just putting more load on the abdominal wall to see if the tensile strength there can actually handle it. If it can't, then we're going to get a doming and a bulging out here through the tummy. So I'm looking at my abs, lifting the knee, and then dropping the knee back down. Now, if you didn't notice any bulging with that, you can take a little break. We're going to do an add-on, and we're now going to do a double knee lift to check this as well. So on the exhale, come up. Okay, now you may not find the movement easy. It depends on how rehabilitated and strong your core is or not. But we're really just looking for the doming or the bulging out as the indicating factor. Now, if you find that there is no problem doing that at all, we're going to do another add-on, which is to straighten and extend one leg. So we're going to exhale out and now lift the entire leg up and down again. Good. If you don't have any bulging with that, then we're going to do one last level of this, which is now we are going to do a double leg lift. So both legs are extended, lifting them up and lowering them back down. Good. Okay, so hopefully that's given you an indication of what you're looking for, what you're checking for. So I hope you found that useful. Just remember to check for those 4 things. So it's the width, it's the depth, it's the firmness, and it's whether you have any bulging when you're doing activities. And with the bulging part, it's important to notice this as well throughout any other activities of daily living that you may be doing, whether that's picking up things and lifting heavy loads, or whether you are doing an exercise routine or recreational activity, because that can be a really good indicator as to how well your core is being rehabilitated, whether it can manage the pressure you're putting it under, And in fact, if it is bulging when you're doing that activity or exercise, then it means that you need to bring things down a notch or rethink the way that you are driving that movement so that you can not put too much stress on your core, because you don't want to blow out a lot of pressure through that midline when you are trying to rehabilitate it safely. If you want to know how to heal your diastasis recti in a safe and effective manner, then I have a solution for you. And this is my Diastasis Recti course. I will pop the link down below, and it's going to take you through not only the aspects we've covered today, because that's a really small part of it, but most importantly, all of the things you need to be doing to heal it. And it's my proprietary method. It's a 7-step method, and it takes into account all of the factors that are going to help you nail this and really heal your diastasis recti in the safest, most effective way possible. This video is part of a series of Diastasis Recti videos, so if you haven't seen the others, then I suggest you go and check out all of those first. Also check out the link, as I mentioned, to the course. The course is something that you can do at home. It is designed specifically to give you the absolute need-to-know information. It's bite-sized, manageable chunks, and it has been designed specifically to heal your diastasis recti safely and effectively. So I hope you've gotten some great information out of this video. If you have, then I'm going to ask you, please go ahead and share the link, because there's a lot of women like you out there who suffer with diastasis recti. It causes a lot of other problems and issues, and you don't know how to heal it safely. So go ahead, share the link, click a like if you like it. If you haven't already subscribed, then please go ahead and do that. And until next time, I thank you for watching, and I wish you well.